this is our first time together since we underwent the reorganization just a couple of weeks ago now. And just those of you who have been with us for a long time, which is really most of you, you know that we went from a team of 10 down to a team of 5. And it was certainly sad to see friends and colleagues have to leave us. But this, pandemic has certainly caused a lot of financial strain on the organization, and that's where things landed. So we wanted to take a minute at the top of the briefing to just let you know the folks who are still here and what they'll be responsible for. I will say, everything has silver linings, and I think one of the silver linings here is that all of our roles are going to be much more integrated and sort of comprehensive or national in scope. So as opposed to having multiple points of contact on potentially the same thing, you'll have one. So I wanted to kind of walk through real quick, and you'll hear everybody's voice today. So I won't ask each of them to introduce themselves now. You'll hear from them in a second. But I am still heading up the program, and instead of putting titles here, we just put sort of like the kind of key verbs and adjectives of what we are going to be doing. So I'll be digging in a lot, particularly on federal stuff, which is my background anyway. And because I'm located in DC, I can do that. And then Kristen Crawford, who those of you in the Southeast know her well, she's really going to be focused on our volunteer leadership in particular. So advocacy committees, state advocacy committees, helping to kind of cultivate advocacy chairs and committee members and training and making sure that the committees are resourced. We keep talking about being volunteer led and volunteer run. So she's really going to be kind of the engine behind how that works in advocacy. So she will be your point of contact on all things advocacy committees and volunteer training. And then Stephen Schultz is taking on a lot of the state work, so state legislative work, really, making sure that we're represented at the state level, working our coalitions, writing model legislation, all those sorts of things, the technical nuts and bolts of that work. And then Stephanie Livingston, who you know well, will continue to just be kind of the heart and soul and operations of the program, running Voter Voice and the Junior Ambassador Program, a lot of communications, a lot of internal, just making sure that everything we're doing in advocacy is represented throughout the organization and in the field, and then gets to you all, of course. And then we have a TBD here for a policy director. We're in the process of hiring someone who's really going to support the policy work and making sure that, to the extent that we want to continue to be a leader in the policy space, and we call ourselves thought leaders, that person is really going to be responsible for sort of keeping us at the top of the heap there. So that's kind of a lot to absorb right now. We'll certainly follow up with email, so you know exactly kind of who's who and who to reach out to. But for technical state legislative things, Stephen is your guy. For committee things and sort of like the volunteer-led pieces, Kristen is your go-to person. For all things Voter Voice, operations management, that's Stephanie. And then you can reach out to me on literally anything. I am always at your service. All right, next slide. And then I'm going to turn it over to Kristen in just a second. But before I do, I just wanted to say, we're not throwing a lot of new things at you except for these team changes. Today, we really just want to kind of take a breath and think back to some of the things we've done so far. Sort of call your attention back to some of your own technical components of reporting your ambassador activities and things like that. Taking some time to kind of go in, see what activities you've done and reported in so far this year, what opportunities you still have ahead. And then we'll give you a sneak peek at some of the topics we're really going to be focused on in the fall. And again, we're not going to be throwing a lot of new things in there, especially at the end of a Congress and legislative season and an election year. So a lot of that is just going to be opportunities to get civically engaged, and then some of the work that we've been doing and want to really capitalize on around access in the time of COVID and things like that. Some opportunities ahead there. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Kristen.
Thanks, Anna. Hey, good afternoon to everyone. I think we're all, even our West Coast people, are now in the afternoon time zone. Really happy to still be with all of you. I know that I've had some conversations with a few of you during the COVID pandemic, and I'm hoping to be able to touch base with a lot of you over the next few months. And as Anna said, you can reach out. Hopefully this will streamline everything now. And now that you have one person to go to for different things, hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier for all of you. But just thinking about, now that the organization has gone through these changes, I'm sure you're wondering, well, what does that mean for us? What does this mean for where the advocacy program is going, and how can I continue to be involved? So some of the things that we see for areas for you all to continue to be involved with for the rest of this year and thinking about 2021, we are starting to put together, I think it's almost finalized now, our advocacy priorities survey. And so if you've been with our program for a long time, you know that we send this survey out every year, and this helps to guide our advocacy work for the upcoming year. This year will be no different. I'm sure that COVID will still be around at the beginning of next year, and so certainly COVID issues will continue to be a major part of the work that we're doing. But then, of course, we want to hear from you about some other issue areas that you're having in relation to how you're managing your arthritis or caring for a person who's living with arthritis. So in the next few weeks, you'll see that survey come through. Please, take action, complete that survey for us so that we can begin to prioritize our advocacy activities for next year. We also want to focus on growing our state advocacy committees across the country. I've begun having conversations with advocacy chairs, and I think we have some really great new ways that we can continue to grow those state committees. And I'll show you a map in just a second. If you're not familiar with the advocacy committee in your state, you'll have an opportunity to see if there's an opportunity for you to join that committee. And if you're interested in doing that, you can reach out to me at the end of this call. But our advocacy committees are really going to sort of drive the work that we're doing at the state level, especially over the next few months and throughout next year. Our advocacy committees will be central. They'll play a central role in helping us to plan our state priorities for 2021, planning any virtual state legislative days that we decide to have, and they will help us to grow our advocacy network. And then finally, we are still planning to do some sort of event for our virtual advocacy summit that we normally have in person in Washington, D.C. I'm sure that many of you have heard that we, for 2021, have decided to make this next event a virtual event. And so to make that event happen, we will need all hands on deck. We're planning to put together a planning committee. And so we'll need volunteers and especially our ambassadors to help us to plan those events out and to help us plan if we want this to be a one-day event or an event that's spread out throughout the week. We certainly would love to have all of your input and your help to make that event happen. And then, like I said, with state legislative days, depending on what's happening in each individual state for 2021, there may be an opportunity for us to do a virtual event. And so we'll need help in planning that event, getting speakers or legislators to come and speak virtually to the participants that are there. And then, of course, completing your ambassador assignments and so much more. We have a lot of great things that are coming up for all of you. Next slide. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have coming up for the next 2 months, so the rest of August and looking through September. We will finish up our August recess meetings. We've heard some really great things from some of our advocates that have already completed those meetings, and we're so happy that they were able to speak with their legislators. And we know that there are a few people who have had some difficulties with scheduling meetings. And, if you are interested in continuing to reach out to those offices to see if you can get a meeting, please continue to do so. If you feel like you're burnt out and maybe you'd like to talk over some other ideas for how you can reach out to their offices, please feel free to reach out to myself or to Stephanie, and we will certainly do some troubleshooting with you to figure out some other ways that we can get you in touch with your legislator's office. A few months ago, I think this was right at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, we sent out the COVID survey, and we had a really great response from all of you just about your experience with caring for your arthritis during the pandemic. And so now our team is taking a look at those results. We're preparing them and putting them together in a package so that you all can share that information with your legislators. And we know that this will be great information to share with legislators during the election time, something for them to keep in mind so that you can figure out where their healthcare priorities are. And then also thinking about 2021, we want to make sure that, you know, as legislators are coming back and starting their sessions in 2021, that the needs of people with arthritis and how they're experiencing care during the pandemic, that it's at the front of their minds. And so we'll be able to use that information to drive our point home. And then coming up this fall, we want to, remind you all to complete your ambassador assignments and get your reporting in. I know that this has been such a wild and crazy year, and so we want to work with you. We want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to get their assignments in. And if you're having any difficulties, feel free, again, to reach out to myself or to Stephanie, and we want to help walk you through that process. This fall, we've already have an intern who's been working for us to help create a spreadsheet so that we can track all of the election results. And so we're planning to use that information after November to share with our advocacy committees so that they will know which legislators they'll need to do outreach to once the election is finished, and if they have any turnover in their district, they'll know exactly where they should put some of their focus so that they can begin to educate these new legislators about arthritis. And then our advocacy priority survey, as I mentioned, that will be coming out this fall. And then looking forward to 2021, we will put together a welcome to office packet for all of our new legislators, like I said, so that we can educate them about what life is like living with arthritis. We're planning to take on the new year in a very strong way. 2020 has been such a roller coaster, but we're really looking forward to having a strong new team and really great volunteers behind us. And we know that, 2021 will be very different than 2020, and we're excited and looking forward to it. And then, of course, beginning the year with our great virtual advocacy summit. We may not be able to be together in person next year, but we're really excited about putting something virtual together and still doing meaningful work with all of you. Next slide. Okay, so here's the advocacy committee map that I was speaking about. And I want to give you all a minute just to take a look at the map, identify where your state is, and then you'll see the key down here at the bottom right corner. So states that have that darker blue shade, those are states that have a pretty robust committee, and their committees have plans in place to get advocacy work done throughout the year. And that doesn't mean that they are, fully functioning and that they don't need any help moving forward, but it just means that they have a pretty good committee in place. And so if you're interested in joining one of those committees, we may be able to figure out a way to have you maybe be a district representative in that state, but we can talk through all of that. So if you live in a state that's a darker shade of blue, please contact me, and I'd love to put you in contact with the chair, and we can figure out a position for you on that committee. The states that are kind of that greenish color, it means that those states have committees in place already, but they are looking for new members. They, may just be getting off of the ground, or they may have an opportunity, like I said, to and start including more people so that we can have a representative in each congressional district in the state. And so once again, if you live in any of those states and you're interested in joining the committee and helping them out with the work that they'll be doing in 2021, please reach out to me. And then the states that are that light color blue, that means that we don't have an advocacy committee in that state at the moment, or we may only have a chair in that state, and the chair is looking to build a strong committee. And so we certainly would love for all of you who live in those lighter shade blue states to reach out to me so that I can put you in touch with the chair, and we'll start to build the committee in that state so that we can get all of our states up to that darker blue as we move forward to 2021. And then before we move forward, I know that there was one question that came in at the beginning of the meeting from Anita, and I just want to address that before we move on. Anita was asking if we could talk about the difference between a state director and the chair of the advocacy committee. So Anita, the advocacy director or state director was a position that we had formally before the organization went through changes, and that was a staff position. That was myself, Stephen Schultz out west, and a few other people that unfortunately are no longer with the organization, but it was our primary job to manage a number of states in our region and to help those states out with their state legislative priorities. That position has been eliminated. We no longer have a state director now. We now have the positions that we went through at the beginning of the presentation, and I'm sure we'll be able to send out slides so you can look over those titles once again. But I think the main difference between that position and the chair of the committee is that the state director was a staff position, and the chair of the advocacy committee is a volunteer position. It's not a staff member of the Arthritis Foundation, but it's certainly a person that is very important to the work that we're doing. And they now, in this new world of ours, they will have the responsibility of being the voice of the advocates in their state and managing that committee and working with our staff to make sure that the advocacy needs of the people in that state are being met, and that we are getting laws passed that are impactful to people with arthritis in their state. I hope that's clear for you, Anita.
Yeah, that is perfect. Thank you.
Okay. And then there's one more question here. Do the robust committees have an ideal number of members? That's a great question. We do not have a limit on the number of people that can join the committee, but I think, of course I'm sorry, it's so loud outside my window. We don't want to have too many people that are a part of the committee where we're unable to get any work done, or we have too many differing views on the committee. What I will say, because we're not turning anyone away, if that committee feels that they have enough members, if there are any other people that are interested in being a part of the advocacy committee and they live in the dark blue state, my suggestion would be that they serve as a district representative for one of the congressional districts in their state. And we can talk more about that offline, but I think that that's a great way to make sure that people are still a part of the advocacy leadership in their state, and still allowing the committee to get the things done that they need to get done without having too many cooks in the kitchen. I hope that answers your question. Okay, I think now we'll move on, and I'll turn it, I think, back over to Anna or
Thanks,
Stephanie.
Kristen.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so we just wanted to give you a very brief snapshot at what's going on with our advocacy updates around COVID. As you know, we've had a survey out for the last few months, and it's an ongoing survey. We want people to continue taking it. Just because it really does give us a good sense of how our advocates are being impacted, access related issues, other things like that, how your healthcare has changed, what concerns you're having as we move through this pandemic. We are incorporating that data into pretty much everything we do these days, every congressional letter, phone calls that we have with the agencies. In fact, we have a meeting coming up with the FDA commissioner in a couple of weeks to talk about kind of how our population has been impacted by COVID. So that patient data is so vitally important. So if you've taken the survey, we thank you for that. And also encourage you to spread it out through your networks. And then we are, of course, as the next kind of stimulus package comes available, we're working towards getting some of our remaining priorities in there. We're still trying to work towards a ban on surprise billing, for example. And we've signed on to a number of letters. I want to say we counted them up for JA conference, and it was like over 40, and at this point probably closer to 50 letters we've either written or signed on to about all sorts of things, shoring up the public health workforce, local workforce, things like that. In addition to just the access issues that we just want to make sure people, are protected. So we're going to continue with that. If you've been sort of watching the news, it's been a little bit more mainstream lately. Congress went out on recess without passing the next round of stimulus, and they're talking about kind of a reduced package now that might still have some, public health emergency funding and things like that, but doesn't have all of the things that we're looking for. So we'll continue working on that through the fall. And then the last piece is we're really pleased to see the pediatric subspecialty loan repayment program reauthorized. Those of you who've been working on that issue with us over the last few years, that it's taken several twists and turns. We had this loan repayment program authorized in the ACA back in 2010, never funded, and then eventually the authorization lapsed. We thought that was dead, so we moved on to the National Health Service Corps and trying to get legislation passed to include pediatric subspecialty in that. It essentially do the same thing, get subspecialists into underserved areas. And then all of a sudden we were able to get the reauthorization for the original pediatric subspecialty program, which was amazing. And that was part of the CARES Act. That was Stimulus 3. But it still has to get funded. So that has to go through a regular appropriation process. We're looking for $50 million. We have a number of partners we're working with on this, and there's a letter out as we speak for sign on. I want to say there are already close to 24 organizations, patient and provider groups, including the American College of Rheumatology, who are supporting this, and we're going to use that as like a fresh hook to go back into the appropriators. And this is for fiscal year 2021. I do want to make that clear. What we're talking about is fiscal year 2021, the regular appropriation bill. So it does not conflict at all with, the stimulus funding or any of those bills that are COVID specific, because we've gotten some questions about that. I do want to make that clear. So we're really going to have a heavy push in the fall around that funding. And we're going to really be looking to you all to get the help, because we're going to have to focus pretty heavily on the Senate. We did not get the money in the House bill. They've already passed their appropriations bill. So all eyes are on the Senate now. We have to put the pressure on to get that funding there. So as soon as that letter is done, the sign-on deadline is Friday. We'll make sure to send it out to you as follow-up so that you just have it in hand. It will be a good tool to use in your own outreach. We'll freshen up the action alert too to make sure that it's embedded in there, and we'll just try to really invigorate around that issue in the fall. So I will stop there. Those are kind of the latest and greatest and what we're going to be looking at in the fall for COVID, and I will turn it over to Stephanie.
Yeah, thanks, Anna. We actually just got a great question that I think would be good to pose to you now since you're here. And it was asking what the foundation is doing to address kind of the USPS mail order prescription kind of concern, especially for people with arthritis, if we're thinking about that or monitoring the situation at all.
That's a great question. We don't have a specific ask or hook around that particular issue, but it would certainly be of concern. The best thing, there's a couple things. One is if you are experiencing a specific concern or issue, or know others who have, send them our way. there is always the story bank on our action alert page where we can collect that type of information, or you can just email any of us to kind of let us know. We can use that, of course, in our advocacy efforts with Congress, but would certainly recommend that you reach out to your member of Congress as well, because those are the sort of things that, you know, they're going to certainly want to be interested in. And frankly, I mean, those are the sort of challenges that are really helpful for us to know as we go into meetings with agencies too. Like I mentioned, the FDA, and we're talking with, you know, with other folks within HHS as well. So we don't have a specific advocacy call to action around that particular issue, but like I said, that would be of high concern to us. And so, yeah, let us know what your challenges are there, or concerns. And like I said, if you have other folks that you know who are facing similar challenges or concerns, please send them our way so that we can collect that data.
Great, thank you. So if anyone else has any other questions, feel free to type them into the chat as we go. If I can get my computer to load here, we'll move into kind of the more traditional side of our ambassador briefings, which is talking about some great things that our ambassadors can be doing over the next few months, and dive into assignments and kind of program reminders and all of that fun stuff. So to tag along with the pediatric subspecialty loan repayment program that Anna was just talking about, we are hoping and encouraging all of our ambassadors to look into, if you haven't already, to see if your legislators and which ones of them might be members of an appropriations committee, so that we can really target those people that would have maybe the most direct influence or the most direct connection to getting this great program funded and all of that. So we have some basic instructions here just to use our great legislator lookup tool that's on the website. You can find it at that's bit.ly/legislator-lookup. And I will be sure to send these slides out as always so that you'll have all of the links in hand afterwards. But you'll be able to go in and look at your federal representatives, click into that political section that you see highlighted in green, and see which one of your representatives might be on these committees. And I very strategically picked one of the chairs of the House Appropriations Committee just to show how it all will show up there as far as committees go. But those are great people to target. Even if your legislator is not on this Appropriations Committee, they should still hear from us and still hear about this great program, because they're all co-workers essentially, and it's just a good thing to keep their mind on. But this was something that Congress felt was important enough to include in this Stimulus 3 package. So it's something that we need to continue talking about. So you can look up, again, who is on these key committees, decide to send them a message. And on the legislator lookup tool, there's a place to compose message. We have a pre-formatted message that's already ready on our action alert, which is at the link down here at the bottom, which is bit.ly/PSLRP, and that's the Pediatric Subspecialty Loan Repayment Program. What a tongue twister. But we know that this is something that is especially important now while kids are needing to have telemedicine appointments and things like that, and managing going back to school, that getting the doctors that they need and getting the treatment that they need remotely is super duper important, and that can be a really, really good narrative to drive home. So this is kind of the first part of this. The next one is related more to kind of this election season that we're all really diving into, especially this month as we come out of August recess. And that is, we want to identify who candidates are in our different levels of elections and reach out to them on social media. That's all of them across any party lines, because whoever it is that assumes office in the new year will be someone that we want to get connected with the arthritis community and have kind of in the know on everything that affects our community and everything that we are working so hard on. So we have an assignment guide that will walk you through step by step everything that you need to look up your sample ballot for your specific district, to look up who all of those different candidates are, locate their social media profiles, whether you prefer to use Twitter or Facebook or email or whatever it may be. Even if you want to give them a phone call, some of them will have that information listed there as well. But we want to make sure that candidates, whether they are elected or they move into a different role afterwards, any kind of awareness we can raise around arthritis, especially during this pandemic, is important. You know, we know that legislators and our community around us need to know about the things that are affecting us. So your first step is to find those candidates. We are recommending that you use ballotpedia.org. It's just kind of the most central place to find your full ballot. You can even see your local ballot initiatives that'll be on there as well. Look up the different names that will be there. We have some sample tweets that you can put together to either share the overall national arthritis statistics, with it being the #1 cause of disability, or 54 million adults, 300,000 kids, or a state-specific statistic. So we've included a link to our beloved state fact sheets that you can pull some information on your state that would be a little bit more specific to the legislator or the candidate that you are reaching out to. So you'll be able to pick your candidate to reach out to, or multiple candidates would be ideal, kind of across the board, so that you're covering all bases. Pick your kind of hook, as it were, whether it's a fact about your own arthritis or your child's arthritis or your friends or whomever it may be, or a key statistic, and then sending your message out there and being sure to include our wonderful hashtag advocate for arthritis. But we have a full assignment guide with a little bit more information and screenshots of how to navigate through Ballotpedia and all of that great stuff at the link down here on the bottom left of the screen, which is bit.ly/candidatescontact. And again, you'll have all of this in your inbox by the end of the week so that you can have it all in one place. So we're excited to reach out to anyone that is kind of stepping a foot into the political sphere here, into elected office, and we're excited to see all of the messages that come out of this. Our kind of final call to action for right now is just to let us know how your August recess meetings have gone. If you had any trouble getting something scheduled, we want to know about that, and we want to know what the different challenges or roadblocks were in your specific state or with a legislator or whatever it may be. We want to hear if you had a successful meeting, or if having a Zoom call was awkward for any reason, or if there's any kind of tips and tricks that we can help provide you with in the future that would help these meetings run a little bit more smoothly. So we've already, I'll give a couple shout outs. I know that I have already heard about some great meetings in Colorado, in New York, Massachusetts, and Tennessee. So congratulations, and I'm sure there's many more of you that have had meetings as well that I just have not heard of personally. But we would love to hear about how it went and hear about any follow-up that you did. So feel free to email us either at advocacy@arthritis.org or to Anna, Kristen, Stephen, or I's email addresses that you saw at the beginning of this. And we're really excited to hear about the impact that you all are having remotely. This will also count, of course, as an ambassador assignment towards those kind of end of year reporting requirements and things like that. So there's a little bit of incentive there as well. So I'm going to pause for just a second and read the questions that have come in here for a moment. I see a lot about the pharmacy usage and things like that. All right, I'm going to move on for now, and we will do some more questions at the end once I get my computer to cooperate a little bit better here. So into our kind of program updates and reminders and all of the fun stuff that we talk about month over month, is that, as you may remember way back to the beginning of the year, we have switched to a quarterly reporting format for our ambassador program. And so every 3 months we send out our quarterly reporting survey, and it looks very similar to the individual reports you would do for each individual assignment and bonus activities and all of that in the past. So the Q2 ambassador report, which will cover March through May, is live, and you'll be able to complete that on our website. It's on the Ambassador Reporting Center. We ask that you try to complete that by September 10th. So that is, I think, a little over 3 weeks from now. And if you have any questions about what might fall within this Q2 kind of quota or time frame, we're happy to help. And if you have done any kind of different advocacy work from home, we're happy to talk with you about that and see if it is a good fit for ambassador credit. We know that this world has to be very, very flexible now, and we are happy to be as well. So we want to hear what you've been working on, different programs and initiatives you've been focused on having to do with arthritis advocacy, and we're happy to kind of compile your ambassador portfolio for 2020 if needed. So again, Q2 ambassador report is due by September 10th. I believe that's a Thursday. And we will be sending out the Q3 ambassador report for you to be able to fill out shortly in one of your next emails from us. But that'll be here, and you'll get several reminders on that. Our next ambassador briefing is still scheduled for Wednesday, October 21st at 3 p.m. Again, you'll get all kinds of email reminders from us. There's more information listed about these times and dates and things like that on our current ambassador assignment page. And on that page, you'll also see all of the different written out ambassador assignments that we have had for the year, and you'll be able to kind of make your own checklist for things and see where you stand. So again, that's Wednesday, October 21st at 3 p.m. You'll get invitation links and RSVPs and all of that from us when we're a little bit closer into October, but that'll be our next ambassador briefing for the year. Just to quickly review, I'm sure you're all professionals at this, but we have just an update on requirements. We're still working to achieve 10 ambassador assignments, and I'll show you a full list of what all of those have been for the year to date so far in just a moment. Complete 6 bonus activities, and we have a great list of that on our current ambassador assignments page and the ambassador reporting center on the website. And then our new kind of requirement that replaces the traditional fundraising requirement, which is contributing to the Live Yes Arthritis Network. And we have a great list of all the different ways that you can contribute to the Live Yes Arthritis Network, including inviting people to sign up as advocates, to take action with us, to join a Connect group. If you are leading a Connect group or involved in the Live Yes online community or anything like that, that all goes towards this great requirement here. And we're happy to talk with you a little bit more, again, about different things you've been doing throughout the year that would be good to fit into any of these categories. But I want to focus on this next slide because I'm sure this will be a little bit helpful for some of you to see kind of laid out. But these are all of the assignments that we have sent out kind of year to date that are kind of the template or the standard for receiving ambassador credit so far. And we'll, of course, have more coming out in the coming weeks and months and things like that. But these are a bunch of different great opportunities to take action. You're welcome to go back in time and complete any of them, or if you have questions about where to find them and where to report them in. And if you're kind of up to date on that reporting, feel free to email myself or Kristen, and we're happy to talk it through with you a little bit more. I'm going to pause on this slide for a minute because there's a lot of words on here and give you a moment to just look it over, and I'm going to review our questions that have come in.
Hey, Stephanie, this is Kristen. I'd like to answer Roseanne's question about Advocacy Committee communication. So she asked if we prefer for the committee chair to send emails to their committee with their personal emails or via the arthritis server. So we would prefer that you send emails directly to your committee members from your personal email account. If you're having issues with that, if you don't have a personal email address that you'd like to use, we can talk about that offline and put something together for you. If you're interested in sending an email to all of the advocates in your state or to all of the ambassadors in your state as the chair, then we can set something up through our voter voice system, our internal system, and get that message out, similar to how messages go out to your legislators. I hope that answers that question for you. And
Thanks,
then,
Chris.
yeah, Stephanie, there was another comment question here about people having issues with submitting, I guess this is for their assignments through the Action Center.
Yeah, so we're happy to, if you're having any trouble with the reporting, and I see another question about making the Q1 report available again. We will not be opening that survey up again, but we are happy, I am happy to send you a list or a report of the things that we have on file for you so far this year. So feel free to send me an email. My email is actually up on the screen right now conveniently. But I am happy to take down your assignments just kind of in an email list, or your requirements and all that in an email list, whatever is the easiest way for you to get that over to us. We know that things are working a little bit, are actually very different this year, and we're all adjusting to it. So feel free to send me, again, just an email with a list of all of the different things, and then I'm happy to tally them up and let you know where you stand thus far in the year. So you can either, again, request a report from me to let you know where you stand, or send me kind of everything that you think you have, and I will come back and let you know where we stand from there. And then if you want to, we can make a plan for the rest of the year to see kind of where we can go from here and what other things you're working on can count for the advocacy program here. And I see another question about how many ambassador assignments we're supposed to complete, and like someone answered here, it is 10 assignments. So not all of these, you can pick and choose. And again, since this has been such an unconventional year, it doesn't need to be as cookie cutter as just what's on the screen right now. We're happy to work with the different initiatives you've been working on at home and things like that. And sorry, I misspoke earlier on the Q2. It should be April to June. I'm just thinking a little too quickly here. So thank you for calling me out on that. I appreciate it. You keep me honest. All right, that's all the questions I see for the moment. If anyone has any, you're welcome to unmute as well and ask them, but we are, I think, at the end of our slides here. Yep. But I'll stay on this one so you can read over it. I know it's a lot of text. All right, in the interest of all of your time, thank you so much for joining us. Again, if you have any other questions or if anything else comes up, feel free to email any one of us and ask us questions or anything like that. I'm sorry, I just saw another one pop up. My computer's working a little bit slowly here. But that list of Live Yes Arthritis Network category different offerings and things like that are live on our Ambassador Reporting Center, and I'll make sure that that's included in our recap email that'll go out later this week, so you'll be able to look over all of that. But great, again, feel free to email any of the four of us, and we're happy to chat with you about ambassador requirements or policy updates, advocacy updates, team updates, and all of that. But thank you for taking time out of your afternoon. We appreciate you being here. And I'll hang on the line for just a minute if anybody has any questions, but thank you all.